The spirits fallen in Congress. On Monday 17th, Senator Shields presented a memorial from 16,000 believers in spiritual manifestations, praying that an investigation may be had in reference to the phenomena. In presenting this memorial, the honorable gentleman indulged in some very amusing as well as interesting remarks, but did not offer any satisfactory explanation of the manifestations. For the benefit of the numerous believers in this city and vicinity, we published the following synopsis of the senator's speech. On presenting the memorial, Mr. Shields gave a fair and impartial synopsis of it, and stated that the petitioners offered two opinions. With respect to the origin of these phenomena, one ascribes them to spiritual power, and the other to a rational and natural cause. The petitioners state that these phenomena are engrossing a large share of public attention. I may be permitted to say that the prevalence of this delusion at this age of the world, among any considerable portions of our citizens, must originate, in my opinion, in a defective system of education, or in a partial derangement of the mental faculties produced by a diseased condition of the physical organization. I cannot, therefore, believe that it prevails to the extent indicated in this petition. Different ages of the world have had their peculiar delusions. Alchemy occupied the attention of eminent men for several centuries, but there was something sublime in alchemy, the philosopher's stone, or the transmutation of base metals into gold, the elixir vitae, or water of life, which would preserve youth and beauty and prevent old age and death, were blessings which poor humanity ardently desired and which alchemy sought to discover by perseverance and piety. Roger Bacon, one of the greatest alchemists and greatest men of the 13th century, while searching for the philosopher's stone, discovered the telescope, burning glasses and gunpowder. The prosecution of that delusion led, therefore, to a number of useful discoveries. In the 16th century flourished Cornelius Agrippa, alchemist, astrologer and magician, one of the greatest professors of Hermetic philosophy that ever lived. He had all the spirits of the air and demons of the earth under his command. Paulus Jovius says that the devil, in the shape of a large black dog, attended Agrippa wherever he went. Thomas Nash says, at the request of Lord Surrey, Erasmus, and other learned men, Agrippa called up from the grave several of the great philosophers of antiquity, among others Tully, whom he caused to redeliver his celebrated oration to Roscius. To please the Emperor Charles IV, he summoned King David and King Solomon from the tomb, and the Emperor conversed with them upon the science of government. This was a glorious exhibition of spiritual power compared with the insignificant manifestations of the present day. I will pass over the celebrated Paracelsus for the purpose of making allusions to an Englishman with whose veracious history everyone ought to make himself acquainted. In the 16th century, Dr. Dee made such progress in the talismanic mysteries that he acquired ample power to hold familiar conversation with spirits and angels, and to learn from them the secrets of the universe. In one occasion, the angel Uriel gave him a black crystal of a convex form, which he had only to gaze upon intently, and by a strong effort of the will, he could summon any spirit he wished to reveal to him the secrets of futurity. Dee, in his veracious diary, says that one day, while he was sitting with Albertus Lasky, a Polish nobleman, there seemed to come out of the oratory a spiritual creature, like a pretty girl of 7 or 9 years of age, with her hair rolled up before and hanging down behind, with a gown of silk and changeable red and green, and with a train. She seemed to play up and down, and to go in and out behind the books, and as she seemed to go between them, the books displaced themselves and made way for her. This I call a spiritual manifestation of the most interesting and fascinating kind. Even the books felt the fascinating influence of this spiritual creature, for they displaced themselves and made way for her. Edward Kelly, an Irishman, who was present and who witnessed this beautiful apparition, also verifies the doctor's statement. Therefore, it would be unreasonable to doubt a story so well attested, particularly when the witness was an Irishman. Dr. Dee was the distinguished favorite of kings and queens, a proof that spiritual science was held in high repute in the good old age of Queen Elizabeth. But of all the professors of occult science, Hermetic philosophy, or spiritualism, the Rosicrucians were the most exalted and refined. With them, the possession of the philosopher's stone was to be the means of health and happiness, an instrument by which man could command the services of superior beings, control the elements, defy abstractions of time and space, and acquire the most intimate knowledge of all the secrets of the universe. These were worth struggling for. The refined Rosicrucians were utterly disgusted with the coarse, gross, sensual spirits who had been in communication with men previous to their day. So they decreed an annihilation of them all, and substituted in their stead a race of mild, beautiful, and beneficent beings. The spirits of the olden times were a malignant race and took especial delights in doing mischief. But the new generation is mild and benignant. These spirits, as the petition attests, indulge in the most innocent amusements and harmless recreations, such as sliding, raising, and tipping tables, producing pleasant-sounding and variegated lights, and sometimes curing diseases which were previously considered incurable. And for the existence of this simple and benignant race, our petitioners are indebted to the Brethren of the Rosy Cross. Among the modern professors of spiritualism, Cagliostro was the most justly celebrated. In Paris, his saloons were thronged with the rich and the noble. The old ladies he sold immortality, and to young ones he sold beauty that would endure for centuries, and his charming countess gained immense wealth by granting attending sylphs to such ladies as were rich enough to pay for their service. The Biographe des Contemporains, a work which our present mediums ought to consult with care, says there was hardly a fine lady in Paris who would not sup with the shade of Lucretius in the apartments of Cagliostro. There was not a military officer who would not discuss the art of war with Alexander, Hannibal, or Caesar, or an advocate or counselor who would not argue legal points with the ghost of Cicero. These were spiritual manifestations worth paying for, and all our degenerate mediums would have to hide their diminished heads in the presence of Cagliostro. It would be a curious inquiry to follow this occult science through all its phases of mineral magnetism, animal mesmerism, etc., until we reach the present latest and slowest phase of all spiritual manifestation. But I have said enough to show the truth of Burke's beautiful aphorism. The credulity of dupes is as inexhaustible as the invention of knaves. This speech was listened to with much attention, but frequently interrupted by laughter. Mr. Weller, what does the senator propose to do with the petition? Mr. Petit, let it be referred to the 3,000 clergymen. Mr. Weller, I suggest that it be referred to the Committee on Foreign Relations. Mr. Shields, I am willing to agree to the reference. Mr. Weller, it may be that we may have to enter into foreign relations with these spirits. If so, it is a proper subject for the consideration of that committee. It may be necessary to ascertain whether or not Americans, when they leave this world, lose their citizenship. It may be expedient that all these grave questions should be considered by the Committee on Foreign Relations, of which I am a humble member. I move this reference to that committee. Mr. Mason, I really think it has been made manifest by the honorable senator who has presented the petition that he has gone further into the subject than any of us, and that his capacity to elucidate it is greater than that of any other senator. I would therefore suggest to him that it should either go to a select committee on his motion or be referred to the Committee of Military Affairs, of which he is chairman. Certainly the Committee on Foreign Relations have nothing to do with it. Perhaps it would be better to allow the petition to lie on the table. Mr. Shields, this is an important subject and should not be sneered away in this manner. I was willing to agree to the motion of the senator from California, but I do not wish to send the petition to the Committee on Foreign Relations unless the chairman of that committee is perfectly satisfied that he can do the subject justice. I had thought of proposing to refer the matter to the Committee on the Post Offices and Post Roads, because there may be a possibility of establishing a spiritual telegraph between the material and the spiritual world. Mr. Mason, I move that the petition lie upon the table, agreed to.